Morning, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. Back down here at the Pathfinder Outdoor Classroom. Back in another segment of 10 minutes to better land that. Probably be a little bit longer than 10 minutes. I apologize ahead of time for that. What we did was we went out and did a 7K today. And on that 7K, we used an app called Gaia GPS, which you can download that for all the different types of phone platforms. And I'm not going to get too much into Mill GPS on this video because Mill GPS is specific to iPhone, but I find it to be the best of all the GPS programs. However, Gaia works fine and it works for a lot of things. What we did was we recorded our route, and that's an easy way for you to go out and scout an area that you think has trails that aren't on a map, track that trail, and then you can go back to that app when you get back to your cabin, your home, you're sitting in the living room with the map spread out on the coffee table, whatever the case may be, and you can transfer that trail by grid coordinate location on every one of the turns and links to that trail to the map. Now, the flip side of that would be to keep a travel log, just like we talked about in the positive azimuth uniform layout video, where every time I turn my body for a new azimuth walking down a trail, I'm going to record that new azimuth, count my paces, convert that to meters after the fact so that I can transfer that information to the map. And in that case, I'm not going to have the grid coordinates. I'm going to have the distance and the change of direction, okay? Probably not going to be as accurate as what we're going to do with the GPS. GPS is going to get us close, within 3 meters most of the time. So we're going to take off from this camp, which we did this morning, go to a known point on the map, and that's where we're going to start our recording. We're going to record the route that we walk, and when we get to an area that there's no trail on the map or nothing showing on the map as being walkable trail, we're going to add that to our map. And that way we can take any map of an area and we can add to it to make it boots on the ground information, which is much more beneficial than just having a topo map that there's trails all over the place that aren't even on that map. So we're going to try to update our map today, and we'll start with that trail, but we can update that for every trail out here that I've walked using Gaia GPS to record those trails. And I'm going to show you how to do that today, so stay with me. All right, back out on the trail, and we're heading out to map a trail today. So we're going to walk an area on the map that there is no actual trail marked on the map. We're getting a baseline to get there. And once we get to that area that's unmarked, we're going to go ahead and track our trail with Gaia. And then we can transfer that information to a map. And I'm going to show you how to do that when we get back. But for now, let's see what we can find out here. Okay, this area out here beyond this small pond here is where we're heading. And there's some more water over there. And that's what we're going to get trails to, is to those waterways. We've been down here and around, and we've been back in here and around. Now we want to go back in here and get some of these trails at least recorded so we can put them on the map later if we want to, and we'll try to get a video on that as well. Back in there beyond the trees back there's where we were at a minute ago with that pond, and a nice big slough right here in front of us. We just spooked a deer out of that behind those old oil tanks back there, gas tanks. And now we're walking uphill, see if we can find another reservoir that's on the map and take this trail to it and get it on the map. A big stand of willow right here. Great basket resource. Fantastic for harvesting material from for future folk skills classes and advanced classes for making containers off the landscape. It's a nice big stand here. Plenty of small shoots in there. A nice stand of yarrow coming up right there. Beautiful. Great medicinal plant. Staunches bleeding is the main use for that plant. Got this wetland area right here, and it's kind of a good spot to just kind of take a look at a couple things, because you talk about water indicator trees and things like that, right? And you have a sycamore growing right there, which is a water indicator tree. You have an aspen growing right there, which most poplar family trees like to be close to water. Right beside that, you have a small willow and then a large willow right there. And that willow, those are huge water indicator trees because they really like to grow close to the water. So if you can find willows, you're gonna find water most of the time. And same thing with sycamore, they don't like growing too far away from water. And then, of course, aspens and things like that like to grow in wetter areas. But this is a really good kind of show and tell of a wetland area, and the trees that are growing right there. There's a tulip poplar right back there I can see. So you've got really 3, 4 good indicator trees right here that there's water in this area and they're growing right on the water. All right, look at this. There's a giant lake back here. Nice size. And we're walking right up to that bad boy. Sure don't look like there's much traffic on this trail at all, vehicle-wise. Man, look at the size of that bad boy. We're gonna have to go check that out a lot closer. Now I come around the corner here, there's a couple retention areas right down there below this. So it's hard telling which ones that he's got fish in them or not have fish in them without really walking them and investigating them. And this thing is gorgeous out here. Look at this. Look at the size of that huge rock outcropping over there, sitting right in the water. Holy cow. This thing's beautiful. All right, so I'm on the back side of that lake, and this is a reservoir. You can see that stone in the bottom of this thing, where this thing has been put in man-made, I'm sure, at one point in time. And I saw some small minnows right in here swimming. Doesn't mean there's bigger fish in here, but I would say there probably is. I've been waiting to see something jump or splash, and I haven't seen that yet. I've seen a few rings out there, but that could be turtles. But this may definitely be a place we want to come back to with a fishing rod and walk this bank a little bit. So this backfill area for this reservoir come out of a quarry somewhere close, and I'm looking at some of these rocks, and this piece of agate right here has got quartzite in it, got iron oxide on the outside of it. I can guarantee you that thing would be a major league spark thrower for sure. So real quick, there's a couple plants growing pretty close together here we can talk about real fast on this walk. This one is milkweed, okay? And when you break the leaf off of that, it will have a white latex coming out of that leaf. You can see that. That is antifungal. You can use that for warts, athlete's foot, ringworm, all that kind of stuff. Any kind of a surface fungus you can use that for, as long as you're not allergic to latex. But there's another plant that looks very similar to it that's actually poison, called dogbane, but it makes great cordage. And the difference between those two is when you pick these leaves up, you can see how they overlap. The leaves are going to overlap each other. This will overlap these will overlap these. Dogbane won't do that. I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so right across the road, this is dogbane. And if you know what you're looking at, they don't look anything alike, but they can be mistaken for one for the other. You break the leaf off of it, it does emit latex, okay? This latex does not do the same thing that milkweed latex does. Dogbane is poisonous, all right? However, if you ret it, these stems can be broken down and they make very, very good cordage. Now, you remember we talked about that overlap. If you look at this, you bend this sideways, those leaves don't really overlap into the next ones. They go right to the base, right to the base, right to the base, okay? Where the other ones overlap like halfway up the plant. That's an easy way to tell the difference if you can't just tell by looking. Now, since we're having a little bit of a plant discussion today, this is wild pepper right here. These seeds inside here are very, very small, but those can be dried and ground into a wild pepper. All right, it's also called a shepherd's purse. You can just strip those dudes right off, dry them out, crack them up like a peppercorn, and have wild pepper. Coyote tracks in the mud there. Running this trail between this pond here and this little wetland area right here on the high ground. Path of least resistance. You know, there's something to be said for these light colored pants, especially this time of year. because you can see the ticks really easy if they're on you, where you might not be able to see them in darker colors, and just pick them right off your pants before they get on you. Now, this is what Gaia looks like when you pull it up on your phone, and you can see that I've put a lot of trails on here that aren't on this map. The one we walked today was this light blue that went up by this lake. So we're going to go ahead and put that on the map, look at the baseline and where it stops, and then figure out where to put the trail using our GPS. I'm going to show you how to do that and transfer that to the hard map. Okay, so looking at our GPS, this trail, which we use for a baseline, is on the map. I believe this trail here around the backside of that reservoir is on the map and the GPS. It was back here, okay? We walked it, and there's a trail there. But this track here from the corner of this pond, from the corner of this back up, that trail's not there. So we need to add that trail to our map so that we know where this trail goes. Now that trail went straight ahead right there. I did not follow that, so we'll check that out another day. There's also areas down in here where there's water that we didn't check out. We'll check out another day. For now, we want to get this trail added to the map so we've got that information on here. Now, how do we do that? Okay, we figure out the spot where this trail cuts across the top of this, which is right here, all right? And we're going to take that trail and we're going to put a pin on there just like this, and then we're going to kind of adjust it to where we want it. So it's right at the intersection there, and that gives us a grid coordinate right here that we can then plug onto the map to put that dot on the map. So now all we need to do is start connecting the dots. So that grid coordinate that we pulled up, we need to plot, and it is 69, 24. All right, here's our 24 grid square. Here's our 69 grid square. We know it's going to be right up in here somewhere anyway. So we're in the right spot. We start here at the 0 right here. All right, and it is 69, 47. So we go 47 over, which is about right there. And then we go 40 up. So we go to the 4 here, make sure that we're at the 47 here. And that correlates almost perfect to where that dot's at. And now that we know that, we can go ahead and put a permanent marker dot right there so that we know that trailhead comes out right there, and that correlates with our map. And now what we need to do is we need to start figuring out the rest of this trail. It pretty much goes straight across the top of that for a pretty good ways. So we'll go over here and we'll put another plotted point in. And that's 60, same grid square basically, okay? So we start in the same grid square and we go over 31 and we go up 43. And that's gonna put us right there, 31, 43. That's gonna put us right at the corner there, okay? We'll go ahead and put a dot right there. All right, now we know that that trail connects from here to here. So we can go ahead and put a dotted line in right there. We'll just take our marker and we'll go dot. Just like that. And that's how we're gonna put that trail in. And now we're gonna go from that point. It's pretty much a straight angle up to this point where we took a picture, so we'll go to that. And that was at 24, 69, same grid square, all right? But this time we're gonna go over 17, and we're gonna go up 55, okay? So 17, there's 55, there's 17. We'll go ahead and put a dot right there. And then we can go ahead and connect those dots. Just make a little series of small slashes right there. And now we know that that's our trail, okay? So we're gonna go on this next one to get that little curve in there. We're gonna go up 15 and we're gonna go over 58. Or excuse me, over 15. Excuse me with that. Over 15 and up to 58, which is gonna put us right here. And that's where that little curve's at. We wanna make sure we get that in there. 15, it's right there. And then we can just, again, we can just connect the dot right there, just like that. And from there, we're gonna go up to this bend right here, which is 1869. So we're gonna go over 18 and up 69. There's 69, there's 18 right there. I'll put a dot in there. And now you can see this trail is kind of bending this direction a little bit to there, okay? And you can see how I'm doing that. Now, the next spot we're gonna put in is gonna be this corner up here. And that's going to be 1584. So 84, 15 over, 84 up, right there, okay? Verify that both directions. And you can see that's right where it picks up a trail that's already there, okay? And that makes total sense. Because that trail is the next trail we took. Once we came in here, we took the low side of this fork. And the low side of that fork led us right down here to the front side of this lake and around. And that's all on the map, okay? And we stopped right here somewhere. So let's get our stopping point. And that was 66.52. 68.24. All right, so now we're over here in 68.24 instead of 69. So we'll start at 68 and we'll go over 66. And we're gonna go up 52. So go up to 52, make sure that we're at 66. And this is where we stopped, okay, as far as our walking goes. All right, so we stopped right here, and you can see that on the map, we were just on the corner on the edge of that water and off a little ways, okay? That's perfect. So that trail that we took followed this all the way, and basically we stopped right there and we walked over into here, all right? Everything that we just did correlates with the map perfectly, all right? But we put a trail in here that was not on the map, which is right here. And this is what we want to understand are these trails that aren't on the map so that we can refer to them later. And we'll put the rest of the trails in as well that we've done exactly like that. All right, guys, listen, I appreciate you joining me out here today for a segment in 10 minutes to better land nav of how to transfer a trail from your GPS to a hard map. And we'll do the same thing, like I said, with the rest of our trails to update something that we would buy as a map that may not have all the information on it, that we can now put the information on it from our own personal experience. And that makes the map more valuable to us later. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, for our family, for our business, all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.